All right. Here we go. All right, guys. Boy, I apologize for that. You know, had it not been that the screen wasn't on, you guys wouldn't have, I would have never known, and that there was no sound. And but anyway, we start over. So anyway, I guess we should say Boker Tov, because I didn't get this all ready until after midnight. Michael D. He's right here. For those of you that I guess are deaf, you may have been able to read lips, and but I apologize for all of that. So anyway, Michael D. On Twitter. I believe Michael lives in Ukraine, and he posted earlier today the Russian military column in Valyuky, Belgorod Oblast is where these guys are actually at. Let me play that video for you so you can see what's going on here. This guy here is going to pull in around this convoy of military equipment, and he's filming while he does. I would say about a dozen armored vehicles that we're going to see here. You'll see just glimpse one Russian flag hanging there. Maybe not a Russian flag. Anyway, that was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then there's another one coming up ahead before the camera goes out. 15 armored vehicles that are there. Now, Mikhail said they're at Value Key. I may be pronouncing that wrong. Let me just quickly, let's pull up, we'll add Value Key on there and just see value. There we go. That might change the different location. Okay, it's going to give us a specific location then. They are actually, yes, about 14 kilometers from the border of Ukraine. That's exactly right, or 10 miles. All right, so we're seeing it right there on the northern side of Luhansk, which, if you remember, Luhansk and Donetsk here are the two breakaway republics. The line runs about like this. Mariupol, though, is in the Ukrainian hands. Russia has troops down here. Russia has a military base over here. Now they're getting on the northern side. Now, if you remember, too, though, we have the United States. I reported this to you, all this military movement that's being done in Romania. Now, a friend of ours sent us a message and said this is only a buildup of forces for the protection of this area, but that could rapidly be changed into a offensive force as well, especially when you have something like 30 attack helicopters in the region there. And as you can see, they are connected to Ukraine. It'd be an easy shot. You can do an easy flight to Crimea for an attack. All kinds of things that could be carried out in this region here. Russia and the United States definitely getting closer and closer at odds in this situation. All right, now moving on over, we got more issues that are happening, and more specifically here with Israel and with Lebanon area. Going to be talking about here in just a moment. So let me just switch sides here to the Jerusalem Post article that came out here today on March 13th, 2019. IDF Hezbollah building terror network on the Syrian Golan Heights. They're going so far as to say that they don't believe that Bashar al-Assad is even aware of this. Now, you know, sometimes I really believe that when you're trying to report and get truth to people, it causes such a massive effect on the public to hear something true rather than all the propaganda we listen to. And I'll tell you, I see propaganda on every side. I see it on Russia's side. I see it on American side. I see it whether if you listen to Fox News, it's all about President Trump. If you listen to CNN, it's all about the Democrats. Don't you guys ever think that you're being fed propaganda from both sides? You know, too much time I spent with these crazy people. Too many politicians I knew, Democrat, Republican, both of them buddies, while you think they're out there being for you when they're actually only for the greater agenda that they're working on. Oh, man. And I will tell you one thing. I happened to run across an X file they did on the Kennedy assassination. Boy, did that open up my eyes. You know, you would think a movie, and listen, I've seen a lot of documentaries, and I know most of the documentaries are propaganda, because some of the colleagues that I've worked with, we've discussed this issue, and we've discussed who, too, we believe was the actual trigger man. It's not quite what you think, but the X-Files was closer than I'd ever seen. And if you ever look that up, I don't know what season they're in. I know they got a bunch of seasons, things like that. But on that particular issue, the very secret guy they have in there, they make him look like he's a former Army guy. Well, the real trigger man was former Air Force. And he actually was, in the movie they denied, the Bay of Pigs invasion, but he was sent in and denied his military existence ever existed, was sent in to assassinate Castro first before being asked about taking down Kennedy. A lot of little details are missing, but I know a lot of those as well. I even know those people that worked on the Warren Commission that were trying to cover it up. I know them personally. So anyway, won't go any deeper than that on that issue. So it says here, the Lebanese Shiite terror group Hezbollah is building a new dangerous terror network in Syria's Golan Heights without the knowledge of the Syrian President Bashar Assad, the IDF has revealed. Like I said, truth can have a major impact when you're doing news like that. And I know that there are a lot of Israelis that watch this channel. I've got friends in the Knesset. I've got people in the Knesset that write me. All right? And I'm seeing a change of heart. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not going to go after Damascus eventually. They will. But to see them to actually say they don't believe that Assad knows about it tells me that Israel is getting ready to carry out what was told to me already they're going to do, take down Hezbollah first. But they want to do it without Syria engaging. Now, I would say that this is somewhat propaganda piece. Why? Because the Lebanese, watch what they're saying here. All right? That it says in here, Syria's Golan Heights without the knowledge of Syrian President Bashar Assad. So what Israel is doing through its media is letting Syria know, we're not blaming you for what's going on, so we're not going to do anything to you. We just want to deal with Hezbollah. Stay out of it. We'll see. We'll see how that goes, right? Anyway, another Jerusalem Post right here. Because it's a standoff is what we are right now. Syria vows to attack Israel unless it withdraws from the Golan Heights. I love the way they word this. Now, I don't know that Syria has threatened to attack, even though the Jerusalem Post reports it that way. But the Syria warning was given to the head of the United Nations Truth Supervision Organization, General Kirsten Lund. Now, what is said there was that the Syrian Deputy Foreign Minister, Faisal Maqdad, submitted an official warning to the head of the United Nations Truth Supervision Organization, Kirsten Lund, in what seemed to be an attempt to prevent official U.S. recognition of Israeli sovereignty in the Golan. This is what states here. We will increase the number of residents in the Golan, sending a resounding, blue and white party politicians Gabi Ashkenazi, Yair Lapid, and Benny Gantz and Moshe Yaalon visited the Golan on Monday and vowed never to give it up. They're talking about moving mass numbers into the Golan. They say we have a historical right to it and a strategic asset, Lapid said. Now, if we look at the ancient biblical land maps, there's two different versions. One shows it belongs to Manasseh, the Golan Heights. But yet Manasseh was actually given a different portion of land. Another image shows that it actually belongs to Naphtali, but only a part of the Golan does, and the other part would belong to Syria. So I guess it depends on which scholars you're looking at as far as the map goes. Nonetheless, when it comes to the Golan, I think the Golan should remain the way it is. I know it's a big oil issue. I know there's a big issue when it comes to Syria wanting this particular land back. I understand that. I just don't see how we can bring about peace if all that happens. But I will tell you what I think is going to happen. The Israelis are going to work out a peace deal in this two-state solution. because this was the intel that I was given several years back by a good friend of ours that lived in the Golan. Her whole family that she'd married into were all Jews, and they owned some property there at the Kinneret in Tiberias, or in the Kinneret area, I should say, the Sea of Galilee, as Christians would call it. And I was told then that the Golan was going to go to the Palestinians, that they were going to do an exchange of land, a land swap, and that the Golan would go to the Palestinians. Now, I believe that Israel will keep a buffer zone, but I think in an agreement with Mahmoud Abbas, brokered by none other than Jared Kushner, they're wanting to give part of that land to the Palestinians, and this is one reason why there's going to be a major investment in that area by different political figures from the United States. They know they're going to do this swap, and by swapping that land, they will say that Israelis can keep certain settlements within the West Bank in this land swap. By doing the land swap, then you will see that Bashar al-Assad, if he's still in power, would be more amicable to that type of deal because he's got an agreement with Palestinians, and he won't attack if there's Palestinians there. Voila. What do you know? One of the high-ranking United Nations officials also kind of hinted at that with me as well back in, I think it was 2015. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. Anyway, U.S. Senator Graham says he'll work to get U.S. to recognize Israeli annexation of the Golan Heights. A Republican lawmaker lobbied alongside colleague of Ted Cruz questions to whom the territory would be returned should Israelis depart. But again, notice even his wording. All right, if the Israelis departed, who would it even go to? Question to whom the territory would be returned should Israelis depart. See, even Graham is hinting at there as being an exchange of land in his own words. But he's looking at that Israeli sovereignty for what? Only for the military rights to the border. They're all playing this game and making us look like a bunch of idiots, like we don't really know what's going on. Well, I guess we don't. We're just kept in the dark on all this. All right, what do we have right here? Sharren Haskel. Sharren Haskel made a comment on I-24 News today that really blew me away. And I say blew me away because Sharren Haskel, she is a kind of a right-wing politician, but there's been a lot of things that Sharren Haskel has said before in the past that kind of gives her a good balance in some issues there. Now, she's going to say in here, and I'm going to play it for you because she's speaking in English here. She speaks both Hebrew and English. She's an MK member in the Knesset. But she actually says in there that she would accept an Arab Israeli prime minister if his or her party would be Zionist and want coexistence with Jews. Now, I can't speak for Sharren. I don't know what she means by Zionist, but like I've said, there's two forms of Zionism. There is a Zionism that is to overthrow all the Middle East and to dominate your enemies, but then there's also a Zionist view that believes in the right of return to Jews to their homeland. And that's more of a religious Zionism that is looking for the coming of the Messiah. All right, not the hardcore hardliners. All right, so therefore, I don't know which side Sharren was standing on, but I do believe that her point is well taken, and I'm sure it may be a political insanity for her to say that, but I want you to hear what she says because it's a step. It is a step in a politician that you could negotiate with. Very big step. I want you to listen into what she says here.
The founder of the Likud movement, and yet I'm not.
One moment there. We're not playing it on the screen, so it's going to be a little harder to hear. So I'll try to make it better for you guys. Let's try it again.
One of his followers, yeah, he said that he wouldn't mind having an Arab prime minister. Okay,
would you mind?
And look, we have minorities in our party as well.
Wait,
Don't
wait,
forget.
I asked you specifically, would you be okay with an Arab prime minister?
Look, if
Simple yes, no.
obviously I would prefer someone different to be, but if he would be voted democratically, obviously this is a decision of the majority.
Why would you prefer so? Because he's Arab?
No, not because he's Arab, because the Arab party that he's talking about are a different types of Arab that I'm talking about. No, hold on. I want to finish because I want to finish my sentence because otherwise it will be misunderstood. Okay? If we would have someone from a party that is a Zionistic party, a party that wants to coexist Jews and Arabs, he would be accepted. The Arab parties that exist today are the Arab parties who promote more hatred and more violence against Jews. That kind of Arab prime minister, I will not accept.
Like I said, that's a very bold move on Sharren's part there, and it may be, as some call it in terminology, political suicide for her to make that statement. And I pick up better this time listening to her again. What she's speaking about is that if it's an Arab politician running inside a Zionist type of party, such as Likud party, then she would accept that, even though he'd be an Arabic person. And it's still a big step from being true democracy, but it's a bold step, and I think it was worth acknowledging because it is a very bold step. Anyway, let's move on as well. There was an article my wife was going to, she told me about it, and I forgot to pull it up. It's my fault there, where President Trump has recently spoken about being able to use weapons on civilian population, and it not being, it can be done when they're trying to take out the enemy, but nobody would know about it. They would keep it all quiet. Now, I can't say this is what's happening right here. A U.S.-led coalition jets hit Deir ez-Zor, Bagahuz, Falkani town with white phosphorus, but we do know that in that region there are a lot of civilians that are all in this area here of Deir ez-Zor. But it was tragic to see that the use of white phosphorus is constantly going on. And of course, the U.S., when it comes to a military operation, the second time it's hit the ground already, has not banned this types of weapons. And we see, especially in the case of Yemen, where it is really a tragedy for the little children of Yemen that are constantly, third time you see white phosphorus shot out like this here. This stuff just goes across the ground and it incinerates human beings alive. They're burned alive, and there's no way to put the flame out. It just burns deep into the skin. And just horrible what is happening in Syria and still continuing to go on. A couple other issues I'd like to point out. ISIS claims that 15 SDF fighters killed in eastern Deir ez-Zor. This is something that's going on tonight, and that's something that's also of an interest to me there, because the U.S. using white phosphorus down there, and you wonder, is the U.S. using that against ISIS fighters, or are they using it against Syrian fighters that are trying to take out ISIS militants? Sometimes we get conflicting reports. I cannot verify one way or the other. All we can do is ISIS claims they have killed 15 SDF fighters. And we also have, and keep in mind, there's so many people that get embedded with these ISIS fighters, like the Yazdi girls that were kidnapped, that when you're using white phosphorus on this enemy combatant, if it is ISIS that it's actually being used on, to where they have a lot of hostages that they have taken prisoner of war, and it's just, you put them in harm's way as well. Another interesting issue here, and it's only just stirs up the pot with China. The United States Air Force B-52s, which are nuclear capable bombers, today departed Andersen Air Force Base in Guam, and are currently entering the South China Sea. Not currently our time, but earlier today, and was providing tanker support and returned to Andersen Air Force Base there. So I'm sure we keep China on their toes on a regular basis. Just doesn't seem to be the way we should do business around the world. I'm Stephen Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live. Don't forget, we have the conference coming up. Brother Gary got the website on Israeli News Live all back in top shape again too, by the way. So our videos, when they air, they pop up there. That was an awesome interview that my wife did with Dr. Lorraine Day. Always keep in mind, though, not all of the opinions of our of our guests that we interview are necessarily shared 100% by us. But we do appreciate Dr. Day. She's got marvelous insights on natural cures, and I think it can be a blessing, and something we should pray about regardless when listening. But we're trying to get back to where we write a little bit more in our articles there as well, and not to mention you can donate online if God lays that on your heart to support this ministry. But if you scroll down to the right in recent articles, this is where the Coming Persecution Orlando Conference, March 30th, 2019. We're only a couple of weeks away, a little over 2 weeks I believe it is now. And when you click into that there, you can actually make a donation for your tickets online, just putting in your description that it's for the conference, March 30th. If you forget to do that, all you got to do is just leave a comment. You can do so. Let's see. Brother Gary put the donation link right in the actual link box now, but you can go down and leave a comment as well. I think you have to get to the very bottom. Let me just see. So if you made a donation, or if you want to give at the door to be able to be a part of this conference, you can mention that in the right at the bottom. Go to the very bottom, leave a comment, say I'll be there. I need to know how many of you will be there, and that you'll pay at the door. So we're making both ways available. It is non-refundable though, please understand, because we have the situation where we got the larger area for the conference like we did last time, but we still have to pay the full price regardless. We're looking for you to be there. Don't miss it. Dr. Pigeon, my wife, myself, things we've not even spoken in the other conferences we'll be sharing with you here. So we look forward for you guys to be there and to hear some amazing things. I'm going to try to record this conference. I hate doing that because every time I do, I get sidetracked in my mind. Maybe I'll get a cameraman to help us to do that so my brain's not sidetracked with the recording. Starts at 9 a.m. I'll be the first speaker there. And as far as itinerary wise, then will be my wife right after lunch, and then Dr. Pigeon at the end of the day, and questions and answers at the end of the meeting there. I'm Steve Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Erev Tov. Thank you for watching, guys. And don't forget, tomorrow night, Steve and Yana chat, 9 p.m. Eastern time there, and it will be very insightful. We will record, though. And by the way, that's something else I got to tell you guys. Steve and Yana chat is going to have to move to Patreon on the subjects that we are on. We are being hacked like crazy on this end. And we cannot keep up with the amount of hacking they're doing. If we do more of a medium type of information, we can do it here on Israeli News Live, but it is looking like we're going to have to pre-record, post it on Patreon, because we can't run live on Patreon, and move the broadcast over to there. I think tomorrow may be our last day that we do it here on Israeli News Live, so we want to kind of give you guys a little heads up on that before we change the location of this, because we've been hit quite a bit for making the broadcast we did. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. Erev Tov.